Welcome back once again on the YouTube channel of BYJU'S Exam Prep. Now, friends, in some of my previous sessions, a lot of you have requested me to basically throw some light specifically on the different sections for CAT 2023. So obviously, like I can help you in LRDI section and the QA section. So here is my first session for all of you about the learnings that we all can have from the previous year papers, especially for the QA section. So today, our discussion will be revolving around the QA section for all the students who will be preparing for CAT 2023. Now, in this session, I have taken an idea about how the previous year paper has behaved, and based on some of the previous year papers, like 5 to 6 years, I have done a proper analysis of these papers, and from that, I have basically segregated different topics, different areas which are very important or which are less important. So, friends, welcome back once again on this YouTube channel of BYJU'S Exam Prep with our session on the learnings from the previous year CAT papers for specifically for the QA section. So let us quickly have a look at the agenda of this session. So in this agenda, in this session, first of all, we'll be discussing about what can be the expected paper pattern for CAT 2023. We'll be restricting our scope to the QA section only. Then we'll be looking at the topic-wise analysis of the last 5 year papers of CAT. CAT score versus percentile. What should be your target score as far as the QA section is concerned in order to secure a percentile in QA section that you are targeting. So let's say if your target is 95 percentile in the QA section, then how many questions you should be attempting correctly? That should be the effective number of corrects, so as to get that 95 percentile. Now, most of us have a mis idea about what should be our score vis-a-vis the percentile that we want to score. So today I'll be giving you a clear picture as to at what score you can achieve what kind of percentile. So we'll be doing a mapping between CAT score as well as the percentile. Then we'll look at some of the previous year paper questions of QA section. All right, definitely we should be keeping some questions to solve. So we'll be keeping some questions from the previous year papers of QA, okay, of CAT from QA section. And these questions will not be very difficult questions. So using these questions, I'll be teaching you some tricks and techniques that can be applied at the time of the examination. All right. So, hello friends. So let's begin. First of all, with an expected paper pattern for CAT 2023. Obviously, this is an expected paper pattern, so don't think that whatever our predictions are, they are going to be true. Okay. So, if I talk about the QA section only, that is this section. So the total number of questions that we have seen in the previous year paper of CAT, that is CAT 22, there were 22 questions from the QA section, right? Now our expectation is somewhere around 22 to 26 questions to be there in CAT 2023. All right. So there can be somewhere from 22 to 26 questions in the QA section of CAT that you all will be appearing for, right? Now, if I look at the breakup of the number of MCQ questions and the number of non-MCQ questions, then it was 14. 14 questions were MCQ and 18 questions were non-MCQ types in the previous year paper of CAT. Now, this may not remain same. So our expectation is somewhere around 16 to 18 questions of MCQ type and somewhere around 6 to 8 questions of non-MCQ type. All right. Now, again, I'm telling you, today we'll be discussing only about the QA section of CAT. Right. Now, moving ahead, looking at the marking scheme. So, marking scheme is expected to remain same. The time that you will get to solve every section will remain same. So, section-wise time limit, it will be kept as 40 minutes, and the marking scheme of +3 for correct, -1 for incorrect, and 0 marks for non-attempted questions, right? So everything here is tentative. that you may find in CAT 2023. Right? Now, moving ahead and looking at score versus percentile for CAT 2022. Right? Now, this is the total score. So, like I mentioned you that we'll be talking about the QA section. So, I've just kept this information for all the students who want to have an idea about score versus percentile mapping, overall score versus percentile mapping for the previous year papers of CAT. So if you look at the last 2 years, CAT 2022 and CAT 2021 only, then both the papers had the similar pattern. Total marks were 198 in both these examinations, right? 198 because there were a total of 66 questions in this paper, right? So 66 questions the paper mein. So a student who has scored 110 marks in CAT 2022 was easily able to score 99.9 percentile. I'm talking about the overall. It is inclusive of all the three sections, all right? So at a score of 110, a student was able to score 99.9 percentile in CAT 2022. Again, if I look at CAT 2021, to achieve the same percentile, a score of 120 was enough. So at a score of 120, 99.9 percentile बहुत easily आ जाएगा. Then if I'm targeting 99.5, then the respective scores of 93 and 107 in CAT 22 and 21 was required. To get 99 percentile, 82.5 and 97 marks respectively. So if you will look at this, these scores are even less than half of the total score of the maximum marks, right? So at a score of somewhere around 50% in CAT 2022, you will easily be able to achieve 99.5 plus. Yes, it is realistic. So 50% marks अगर score कर लेते हो तुम लोग, so 99.5 percentile से तो ऊपर आ ही जाएगा. If I look at the paper of CAT 2022, all right, CAT 2021 में अगर आप 50% score कर लोगे, still जिसने भी 50% से ज्यादा score कर लिया था, that person was easily able to achieve 99 plus percentile. Now you can look at the other scores. For 95 percentile, a score of 60. 60 means in all the three sections together, if you have 20 questions effectively correct. Again, I'll repeat, out of a total of 66 questions, if you have 20 questions correct, then you are sitting at 95 percentile plus, right? Okay. Now, why I'm telling you all these things, because there are a lot of students who will collapse, who will who will be under a huge pressure of attempting many maximum number of questions. They will think that we'll have to attempt all the questions to secure a percentile of 99. No, it is actually not true. Okay, so you have to be very selective while attempting the paper of CAT, be it any section, quant, verbal, or LRDI. You have to be selective, and you must attempt only those questions which are easy, which are short in length, and especially which lies from your area of strength. ओके, सो अगर कोई भी क्वेश्चन मेरा वीकनेस है, कोई भी टॉपिक मेरा वीकनेस है, सो व्हाई शुड आई इवन एंटर दैट टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस व्हेन आई हैव लेस कॉन्फिडेंस इन दैट पर्टिकुलर एरिया. All right, so please keep all these things in mind, keep all these target scores in your mind while you will be attempting CAT 2023, because I don't want any one of you to basically setting up unrealistic targets in front of you and thereby collapsing, not able to perform at the time of examination. All right, now let's talk about quantitative aptitude section. Okay, now, if I look at different areas of QA, so we have divided QA in five different areas, starting from arithmetic, then algebra, then geometry, modern maths, and number systems. So these are five areas in which all the topics are divided, right? Now we can very confidently say that arithmetic and algebra makes up to 70% of the QA section. Okay, That doesn't mean, like, based on this particular fact, a lot of students will start asking me कि सर हम सिर्फ अर्थमेटिक और अलजेब्रा करके चले जाते हैं, let's leave geometry, modern maths and number systems and still will be able to score 99 percentile. No friends, that is not true. Because whatever number of questions that comes from arithmetic and algebra, it's not necessary that you will be able to solve all these questions or you'll be able to solve maximum number of these questions, right? There are some easier questions that may come from number system, geometry as well as modern mathematics, which you may be able to attempt as compared to the questions that will appear from algebra or maybe arithmetic, right? So if you are sitting right now in the month of January or maybe in the month of February and you are starting your preparation for CAT, then you have enough amount of time so that you can finish up with all the topics. Okay, सारे के सारे topics finish कर सकते हो and then you can pick and choose the questions in the QA section which you want to attempt as far as per your area of strength is concerned. Okay. Now, if I'll break these areas further, then focus areas in quants, what I have done is I have picked up some of the specific topics from which the questions have been coming in the previous year papers of CAT, largely. Now, looking at the algebra section, 40% of the questions have come from quadratic and linear equations, logarithms, and sequence and series. So, in algebra, majority of the questions have come from these three areas, but other areas were also touched upon by the authorities of CAT. Okay. In geometry, majority of the numbers have come from polygons and triangles. Now, triangles, I have been saying this particular thing to all my students again and again. Triangles is the backbone of geometry. If you are done with triangles, if you remember each and every property of triangle, each and every theorems in triangles, then other things, other areas like polygons, quadrilaterals, circles will become very easy for you. Okay. Next is permutation combination. So permutation combination again from modern maths, majority of the number of questions have come in this area. Then from arithmetic, majority of the questions have come from time and work, averages, and percentages. Okay, which amounts to somewhere around 30% of the questions from QA section. Okay, now further, if I look at the different topics from which the questions have appeared in the previous year papers. So in CAT 2022, considering all the three slots in which CAT was conducted, 8 to 9 questions appeared from arithmetic. Okay, so in one of the slot there were 8 questions, in one of the slots there were 9 questions, and in the third slot I believe there were 9 questions again. Okay, so if like you can see the range because there were more than one slots. So from arithmetic, 8 to 9 questions appeared in CAT 2022 out of the total of 22 questions that came in CAT 2022 QA section. Okay, from algebra, in one section there were as less as 4 questions, and there was one section in which there were 9 questions in CAT 2022. All right, so this is I'm talking about different slots. From geometry and mensuration, a total of 3 to 4 questions came. Number system, there were as many as 3 questions that appeared in QA section of CAT 2022, and from modern maths, as many as 3 questions came from this area. Okay, now similar is the story for CAT 2021, right? So I can say that all these areas are important because you may expect more than 2 questions from each of these areas in your examination. Okay. Now moving further and looking at score versus percentile. So you have seen the topics. I'll be breaking up these topics in front of you. Okay, don't worry. So we have seen different areas. Now we'll also be talking about what was the weightage of specific chapter, specific topic in the last 4 or 5 years of CAT paper. But before that, let us understand what should be a target score. What should be a target score in the QA section? Okay. Now, last year, a score of 37 marks, a score of 37, that means 12 into 3 is 36. So somewhere around 12 to 13 questions effectively correct will fetch you a percentile of 99.5 plus in the QA section. I'm talking about CAT 2022. There were a total of 22 questions. Now 22 into 3 was 66. So the entire weightage, the total weightage of this section was 66, and a student who has scored somewhere around just above 50% marks in the QA section was able to score 99.5 percentile. Okay, at a score of 33, that means exactly 50%, 99 percentile was achieved in the previous year paper. 22.5, that means one third score. 22.5 means 7 to 8 effective correct number of questions will fetch you 95 percentile. 17 correct, that means 6 questions correct, and your percentile will be 90 plus. All right. Now, if I look at the previous year paper, the similar feat, 99.5 percentile, was achieved at a score of 40. That means somewhere around 13 to 14 effective number of corrects. Okay. So if I'll keep a target of 13 to 14 effective number of corrects, how many questions should I attempt in the QA section? अब 13-14 करेक्ट करने के लिए let's say if I am sitting at an accuracy of 85 to 90 percentile, so I can attempt somewhere around 17 to 18 questions out of 22 questions. So there is no use, there is no need, I'm not saying use, but there is no need to target all the questions. Anybody who is able to finish all the questions, it's good, it's perfect, but you should not put yourself under pressure of attempting all questions. So you can target 17 to 18 questions if you are very strong in quant. Okay. And out of 17-18 questions, agar 13-14 bhi correct ho jate hain, then you will easily get 99 plus percentile in the QA section. All right. Now, if I'm an average student and still, let's say I want to score 95 percentile plus marks in QA section, then my target should be somewhere around 13 to 14 attempts. Okay, 13-14 attempts करने चाहिए, and out of which 7 to 8 अगर correct हो जाते हैं, then I'll be sitting at a score of, let's say 8 correct हो जाते हैं and 3-4 wrong हो जाते हैं. Okay, then I'll be sitting at comfortably at a score of 95 percentile plus. Okay, so let's set a realistic target in front of us based on our preparation, based on our performance in the mock test series. All right, now moving further, what I have done here is I have picked up topics which are written area wise, and I have done a proper analysis about the number of questions that have appeared in the previous year papers of CAT. Okay, now CAT 2017 से लेके मैंने 2021 तक का एनालिसिस किया है, and from arithmetic a total of 140 questions have appeared including all the slots. Okay, so on an average 11.67 number of questions have appeared in every slot from arithmetic. Okay, so slots bhi zyada the, so 140 ko directly I cannot divide by 5 because last year there were 3 slots, a year before that there were 3 slots, in CAT 2019 there used to be 2 slots. Okay, so there were different slots as well, so average number of questions from arithmetic per slot was somewhere around 12, right? Now, breaking up in different topics, time, speed, distance obviously has always been the most important area, and a total of 32 questions and an average of 3 questions, 2.67 or 3 questions have appeared in the previous year papers of CAT. Time and work, a total of 22 questions. The next important area, an average of 2 questions has been seen in the previous year papers of CAT. Okay, now if I'll club all the topics which are related to percentages together, so profit and loss, simple interest, compound interest, and percentages, these 3 areas, so 16 plus 9 is 25, plus 3 is 28. So a total of 28 questions have appeared from percentages and its applications. All right, fine. Now looking at ratios and its applications in averages, mixtures, and allegations. This particular area, I believe for me, is one of the most important areas, especially averages and mixtures and allegations. Now from ratios and its applications, a total of 43 questions have appeared, in total in the last 5 years. And if you look at on an average, 4 questions have appeared from these areas in the previous year paper of CAT, right? So this is the importance of arithmetic that you can see as far as QA section of CAT, or be it any other examination, ZAT, IFT, SNAP, or any other examination. Arithmetic has always been the most important area. Okay, now moving ahead and looking at algebra. So quadratic equations, sequence and series, and logarithms have been the most important areas from which you can easily expect 2 questions. Okay, from each of these areas you can expect 2 questions each. Functions, the next important area, a total of 18 questions have been asked. On an average, 1.5 questions were there in the previous year papers. Now further, linear equations is another important area. I'll say linear equations and special equations. अगर मैं इनको combine कर देता हूँ, linear equations and special equations, they look same. So total of 12 and 2, 14 questions have appeared, and on an average, above one, just above one question has appeared in the previous year papers. All right. Now moving further and looking at the remaining 3 areas, geometry, number systems, and modern mathematics. So in the previous 5 years, a total of 59 questions, and on an average, 5 questions have appeared from geometry. All right. The breakup is mensuration, 3D mensuration, 15 questions involving the questions of areas and volumes. Then triangles, total of 12 questions, circle, total of 12 questions, right? So on an average, 3+ questions have appeared from these 3 areas, right? Number theory, a total of 31 questions, and on an average, 3 questions, somewhere like just less than 3 questions have appeared in the previous year papers. Okay. Similar is the story of modern maths. All right. So somewhere around 2 to 3 questions you can expect in your CAT examination from modern maths, which will include permutation, combination, probability, and set theory. All right. So this has been the story of the QA section in CAT over the last few years. All right. Now let's come to the point and practice some very good questions that I have selected for all of you from some of the very old papers of CAT. Okay. Now these questions, yes, they are old, but that doesn't mean that these type of questions are not like they are not asked in the recent year papers of CAT. Yes, still these type of questions have been asked. So the concept behind these questions is very important. The learnings from these questions will be helpful for all of you. Now the first question on your screen that came in CAT 1996. The price of Maruti car rises by 30%. So the price increases by 30%, while the sales comes down by 20%. So what is the percentage change in the total revenue? Yes, anybody could answer this. So this question can be answered in less than 20 seconds if you remember, if you understand the basics behind the percentages. Okay, now since revenue is equal to price into the sales, the number of cars that is sold. Okay, since revenue is price into sales, and there was a rise of 30% when it comes to price, and the sales come down by 20 percentage. So for such a case, the net change in revenue, which is equal to the product of profit, product of price and sales, the net change in revenue can be calculated by using a simple formula of successive percentage change. Okay, so net percentage change अगर calculate करना है, so you can use the formula of a successive percentage change. The formula is A plus B plus A into B divided by 100. Now what are A and B? A and B are the percentage changes in the price and the sales. Okay. Now the price increased by 30%. So the value of A that you will feed in the formula will be plus 30. Okay. So A ka value plus 30 hoga because price has increased by 30%. Okay. Now similarly sales, it came down by 20 percentage. So the value of B that you'll feed in the formula will be minus 20. So just feed these two values in the formula. Okay, and you will be able to find out the net percentage change in the revenue. Okay, so formula में put कर देते हैं. A is plus 30, B is minus 20. Now 30 into minus 20 is minus 600. Minus 600 upon 100 is 6. 30 minus 20 minus 6 will come out to be plus 4. So we can say that the revenue will increase by 4%, or plus 4 should be the answer. So the correct answer for this question should be option C. And yes, it is correct. All right. Simple तरीका है, CAT में आ चुका है, and still over the last few years, we have seen this formula of net percentage change. Whenever there is a successive percentage change happening, this formula to be used in plenty of questions. So this is a very important concept that you need to know. Let's move on to the next question. Now the next question comes from geometry. बहुत simple question है. Circles का कोई concept नहीं लगेगा. ठीक है. Triangles and triangles में भी जो सबसे basic concept होता है Pythagoras theorem, that concept will be applied in this question. Okay, so let's have a look at this question. In the given figure, the rectangle at the corner, as you can see, small rectangle at the corner measures 10 cross 20. Okay, so 10 cross 20 are the dimensions of this rectangle, which is, you can see at the corner. The corner A of the rectangle is also a point on the circumference of the circle. So one of the vertices of this rectangle, corner A of the rectangle, it lies on the circumference of the circle, as you can see, right? Now what we have to do is we have to find out the radius of the circle. So we are just given the dimensions of this rectangle. How could we find out the radius of the circle? Let's have a look. Now first of all, you must be knowing Pythagoras theorem for this. Okay, now Pythagoras theorem क्या होता है? A square plus B square is equal to C square, or you can say that in a right angled triangle, the sum of the squares of perpendicular sides is equal to the square of the hypotenuse. All right, simple. Pythagoras theorem बहुत simple सी चीज है, बहुत basic चीज है, right? Now let's look at this rectangle, circle, and this circle is inscribed in a square. Okay, so मैंने ऐसा square बना दिया. Now the center of the circle, यहाँ से radius draw कर दो. So I'll draw a dotted line here and another dotted line here. And I call this as the radius of the circle. So let's say R is the radius of the circle. Okay. Now from point A, I'll drop perpendiculars on these two radius. Okay. So radius ko center O, and I'll call this point as X and this point as Y. So from A, I'll drop perpendicular on OX. Okay, so I'll drop a perpendicular, as you can see, on OX, and let's call this point as P. Similarly, from A, again I'll drop a perpendicular on OY, right? And let's call this point Q, right? Now, since the dimensions of the rectangle were 10 cross 20, so this 10 will be equal to YQ. So YQ will be equal to 10. And if OY is the radius of the circle, I can say that the length of OQ should be equal to radius of the circle minus 10, right? So YQ is equal to 10, as one of the sides of the rectangle is 10. Okay, and hence OQ will be equal to R minus 10. Done. This is the first thing. I'll keep it aside. Now similarly, I can write OP as R minus 20, because I can say that XP, as you can see in the figure, will also be equal to 20. So XP is equal to 20. So OP will be equal to radius minus 20. I'll keep it aside. Okay. And if I'll join OA, OA is the radius of the circle, right? So now I can apply Pythagoras theorem on these three sides, where I can say that OA square, which is the hypotenuse of this triangle, OA square is equal to OQ square plus OP square. Okay. So R square is equal to R minus 10 whole square plus R minus 20 whole square, right? Now, one way to solve this equation is open up the brackets, make a quadratic equation, obtain the values of R. So there will be two values of R that will come. Okay. And on the basis of these two values, one value should be rejected. So let us solve karte hain isko. So R square is equal to R square plus 100 minus 20R plus R square plus 400 minus 40R. Okay, so R square and R square will get cancelled, and the quadratic equation that will arrive here is R square minus 60R plus 500 equal to 0. So upon factorizing, you will get R minus 50 into R minus 10 equal to 0. So the values of R will be equal to 10 and 50. All right, these two are the values of R. Now, out of these two, I can reject the value 10 because 10 was one of the dimensions and the radius cannot be less than 10 because ye to 10 tha, so radius has to be greater than 10 or at least greater than 20. So radius should be greater than 10 and 20. That is why the value cannot be 10 and 50 will be the final answer for this question. Okay, so this is one way of calculating the value of radius. So among these options, I can say that option C is equal to 50 centimeter and hence it should be correct. All right. Okay. So 50 is the correct answer for this question. Now this question appeared in CAT 2003. So 2003 के CAT के पेपर में simple question है, ज़्यादा difficult नहीं है, but the trick to attempt these type of questions should be known, right? Okay. Now moving ahead and looking at the next question that came in CAT 2001. Now a wonderful question that we still see in our examinations while we are preparing. Okay. Now question says three friends returning from a movie stop to eat at a restaurant. Now after dinner they paid the bill and noticed the bowl of mince in the front counter. Now, the first person, Sita, took 1/3 of the mince but returned 4 because she had a moment, like whatever reason, let's not get into this. So, she took 1/3 of the mince, first of all, but she returned 4. Then the second friend, Fatima, took 1/4 of what was remaining but returned 3 because of some reason. Then the third person, Ishwari, she took half of the remaining but threw 2 back into the bowl. Finally, there were only 17 minutes left in the bowl. Now, generally, when you attempt these type of questions, it takes you a lot of time, a lot of efforts to attempt such questions. I'll give you techniques using which you'll be able to do this type of question in less than 30 seconds. Okay, now let's have a look at it. Now, first person took 1/3 of the mince. And let's say she did nothing else. She only took 1/3 of the mints. I'll be keeping track on the remaining number of mints. Okay, so if somebody will take 1/3 of the total, then the fraction that is left will be 1 minus 1 by 3, that is 2 by 3. So if somebody has taken 1/3 of the mints, then the remaining number of mints will be 1 minus 1 by 3, that is 2 by 3 of the original number of mints, right? Okay, so let's say if original number of mints was x, then the number of mints that will be left will be 2/3 of the original number of mints, right? Now further what she did, she returned 4. So अगर उसने 4 mints वापस कर दी हैं, so remaining number of mints will increase by 4. So after the first friend, the remaining number of mints will be 2/3 of x plus 4. Now just keep tracking this remaining number of mints. All right. Now after that Fatima took 1/4. So अगर कोई 1/4 ले लेगा तो 3/4 बच जाएंगी, right? So number of mints left at the first step, let's say this value is equal to A. So if 1/4 was taken by Fatima, so 3/4 of A will be left and she returned 3 mints. So number of mints remaining will be 3 by 4 A plus 3. Let's say this is equal to B. Okay. Then look at the final person. Ishwari took half. So अगर उसने half ले ली है तो half बच जाएंगी b by 2. But she returned 2. So b by 2 plus 2 will be the total number of mints that will be left in the bowl after the third person. Now this number is given as 17. Calculate the value of b from this equation. Take it back and substitute in the previous equation and get the value of a. From the value of a, substitute in the first equation and get the value of x. Okay, so let's do that. So from the last equation that I can see, b by 2 plus 2 is equal to 17. The value of b will be 17 minus 2, that is 15, multiplied by 2, which is 30. Now if b is equal to 30, then the value of a will be 30 minus 3, which is 27. 27 into 4 by 3. 3 by 4 का reciprocal हो जाएगा उस तरफ जाके. Okay, so that is 30, 27 upon 3, 9. 9 into 4 is 36. So the value of A is 36. अब सब कुछ orally कर सकते हो. ठीक है? Now the value of A is 36. So 4 will go this side. 36 minus 4, that is 32. 32 into 3 divided by 2, which will come out to be 48. So x का value कितना आ जाएगा? 48. So the correct answer among the options should be none of these, right? So this is one very simple way of attempting these type of questions. So the correct answer here is none of the above, right? Okay. Now let's move to next question, question number 4. Now question number 4 is slightly lengthy, and you need to take care about a lot of things in this statement, in this question. So question says 10 years ago something is happening. So the question is on the ages, probably the average age and so on. So 10 years ago, the ages of the members of a joint family of 8 people, number of people is 8, added up to 231. So basically they are talking about a time frame 10 years ago. So यहाँ पे एक छोटा सा टेबल बना लेते हैं. So 10 years ago, so minus 10 year लिख देता हूं मैं, आज से 10 साल पहले. The number of people is 8 and the sum of their ages is 231, right? Now 3 years later, so अभी हम 10 years ago की बात कर रहे हैं. 3 years later मतलब 10 years से 3 years later, that means minus 10 plus 3 हो जाएगा, तो that means they're talking about 7 years ago, minus 7 years. So 3 years later, one member died at an age of 60. Let's not talk about this person first of all. Now, if I'm talking about a time period 3 years later, then the age of every member will increase by 3, right? So the age of 8 members will increase by a total of 8 into 3, that is 24, right? So here 231 was what the ages, what was the sum of the ages 10 years back. Now 7 years back, that means 3 years later from that time period, now the sum of the ages will be 231 plus 8 into 3. ठीक है, 24 add हो गया यहाँ पे. Now one member died at an age of 60. So एक member चला गया, is removed from the group at an age of 60 and a child was born. So a child was born, so baby पैदा हुआ है तो उसकी age अभी भी 0 ही होगी. Okay, so this will be the new sum of the ages. 231 was the sum 10 years back. Since we are talking 3 years later, so every member age will be increased by 3. There are 8 members, so the sum will increase by 8 into 3. A member at an age of 60 is removed from the group and a new person is born. Okay, now the number of people will remain same because one person died and another was born. So number of people will still be 8. So this sum, this new sum will become 231 plus 24, that is 255 minus 60, which is 195. So 195 is the new sum up till this point, right? After another 3 years, that means they are talking about minus 4 years. Okay, after another 3 years, one more member died, so isko baad mein dekhenge. So earlier the sum was 195. Again 3 years are added, so 24 will be added to this because of the same reason I explained. Another member died at an age of 60, so minus 60 and a child was born the same year. So minus 60 plus 0, number of members is still equal to 8. Okay, so 195 plus 24 minus 60. So 195 minus 60 कर देते हैं पहले. So that is 135 plus 24, 159. So 159 is the sum of the ages आज से 4 साल पहले. Okay, now they want to find out the current average age. So now 4 years ago, the sum of the ages of these 8 people was 159. So at present, the sum of the ages will be 159 plus 4 years ago, the sum was 159. So in these 4 years, the age of every member will increase by 4 and the total age will increase by 8 into 4, that is 32. So 159 plus 32, that is 191 was the sum of the ages, or is the sum of the ages at present. 191 divided by 8 will give you the current average score, the average age of these people. So 191 divided by 8, you can calculate this and you will get your answer. So this value will come out to be 23.75. All right, 23.75. Yes, 25 into 8 kitna hota hai? 200. So 23.75 will be the answer. And my answer is nearest to what? 24 years. ठीक है, 23.75. Yes, it should be the answer. So the correct answer should be option A. My answer is nearest to 24 years. Now let's move ahead and look at one more question. Okay. Now this question belongs to geometry. Now a wonderful concept. So from this question, you will be getting to understand a lot of things. Now, first of all, Pythagorean triplets. So let's talk about each and everything one by one. Now, if you remember some of the Pythagorean triplets, I'm writing it in front of you. 3, 4, 5 is one Pythagorean triplet. Three numbers that satisfies Pythagoras theorem. 5, 12, 13, okay, 8, 15, 17. So these are some very frequently used Pythagorean triplets. Also, you must know one important thing about Pythagorean triplets. Let's say if I'll pick the first triplet, 3, 4, 5, then every multiple of this triplet will also satisfy Pythagoras theorem. As in, if I'll multiply all these numbers by 2, it will give me 6, 8, 10 is also Pythagorean triplet. If I'll multiply all these numbers by 3, 9, 12, 15, multiply each of these by 4, 12, 16 and 20, multiply all of them by 5, 15, 20 and 25. So all these will also be Pythagorean triplets. Okay, so these are some important things that you must keep in mind in order to increase the pace at which you are solving the questions. That's it. Just to basically take care about the time that you are taking to solve a question. Okay. Now, another thing, if I take you back, so in this case, this is 15, this is 20, and this is a right angle triangle. So 15 and 20 say related, there is a triplet 15, 20, 25. So you can directly say that the length of BC will be equal to 25. BC का complete length 25 आ गया. All right, ठीक है? Now, also in a triangle like this, I'll draw it separately. So in a right angle triangle like this, A, B, C, if a perpendicular is dropped from vertex B on the hypotenuse, let's say this point is D, okay, so BD is perpendicular to AC, then you can always say that AB multiplied by BC is equal to AC multiplied by BD. ये हमेशा बोल सकते हैं. So the product of the perpendicular sides is equal to the product of hypotenuse and the perpendicular dropped on the hypotenuse, right? This will always happen. So in this case, I can say that 15 multiplied by 20 is equal to 25 multiplied by AD. So from here you can get the value of AD. AD का value पता लग जाएगा. So AD will come out to be 20, नहीं 12 आ जाएगा. 3 into 4 is 12. So AD का value 12 आ गया. Done. One more trick. टाइम सेव हो रहा है, ठीक है। ना इफ AD is 12, then I can calculate BD. So easily हम BD calculate कर सकते हैं using Pythagorean triplet. So this will come out to be 9. And if BD is 9, so CD will be 25 minus 9, that is 16. Now I know the dimensions of all the right angled triangles which are present here. ठीक है? Now finally, they are talking about the in radiuses. So the question says ACB is a right angled triangle. AD is an altitude. Fine, we have already seen that. The circles are inscribed within the triangle. Okay, so those circles दिख रहे हैं, these are inscribed. P and Q are the centers. What is the distance between P and Q? Okay, now basically the distance between P and Q is equal to the sum of the in radiuses of the two circles. So हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा, दोनों circles के in radius calculate करने पड़ेंगे, and if I'll add them, it will give you the distance between P and Q. Now how to find out the in radius? Now in radius calculate करने का एक बहुत simple formula है, area of triangle is equal to small r into small s. Small r is in radius and small s is semi-perimeter. Okay, semi-perimeter सबको पता है, sum of the sides divided by 2, right? So if I take the triangles one by one, so पहले अगर ये ABD, ये वाला triangle लेते हैं ABD, whose dimensions are 9, 12 and 15. So I can say that area of this triangle is half into base into height, which is equal to, I call the radius, the in radius of this circle as R1 multiplied by the semi-perimeter. Semi-perimeter is sum of the sides, which is 24, 36, 36 divided by 2, that is 18. So R1 का value कितना आ जाएगा? It will come out to be, let's calculate, 12 upon 4, that is 3, using this equation. Now, similarly, you can calculate the in radius of the second circle, which will come out to be 4 using the same method. Okay. And adding these two numbers, you will get the distance between P and Q. And that is equal to 7. All right. And that is how you can solve these questions. Okay. So the correct answer here is equal to 7. Now you must have seen using this question, you have learned plenty of new techniques, plenty of new uh, uh, things about geometry, right angle triangles, and some normal triangles. All right. So friends, that's all from my side for the day. Okay. Please do watch this session again if you want to, and you will have plenty of learnings from this. Now, some important piece of information for all of you. CAT 2023 comprehensive program, the complete details are given on the screen. New batches are available, so you must enroll as soon as possible in case you are an aspirant for CAT 2023. All right. Also, the number is given at the bottom of the screen, and you can do a proper inquiry by calling at that number. And also, there is a link that is given in the description of this session, using which you can enroll in this batch. Also, for all the CAT preparation programs, you can avail 90% or up to 90% scholarships. There's a scholarship test on 4th of February at 7 p.m. So you can register for this test and get a chance of getting up to 90% scholarship in any of the CAT programs. Why MBA is the right career choice? A wonderful seminar conducted by Saral sir. This session will be held on 31st of January at 7 p.m. So please do register for this session in order to take some insight about MBA as a career choice. All India Open Mock for CMAT 2023. Today is the last day. This examination Open Mock was live on 21st of January and it will be live up till 29th of January. That is today, the last day. So please do register and get a real-time experience for CMAT 2023. That's all from my side, my dear friends. Get social on these platforms and follow us. Thank you very much for being a part of this session. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful time preparing for CAT 2023. Bye bye.